Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review. And today I'm going to be talking about Napoleon, which of course is directed by Ridley Scott, starring Joaquin Phoenix, and is out in cinemas next Wednesday, the 22nd of November. And I'm here to give my thoughts on the biopic, epic, whatever we want to call it. I'm going to be giving some thoughts because there are some to give. This is an insane film, to put that as the understatement of the year. I was very lucky to have seen it last night in London. I'm recording it today. I just didn't want to do it at 1 in the morning. It was a very long evening. The film is 2 hours 40 in length. And yes, the 4 hour plus cut is going to be coming to Apple at some point next year. Ridley Scott has already confirmed. But before I start talking about that, as always, do want to let you know that of course we're a film channel. We've been reviewing a lot of TV at the moment. But if you do like this review and others that have been doing, then do hit the like button. It does help support us with our goals. And as always, comment your thoughts if you've seen the film, what you thought, if you're looking forward to seeing it, what you're hoping to see from it. Maybe even your thoughts on Ridley Scott as a director, because of course he is one of the greats and his work goes going back decades. But if I talk about my experience heading into this film, I'm going to talk about when this film was announced. Joaquin Phoenix, the star as Napoleon, in an epic biopic directed by Ridley Scott. I'm sold. I'm going to go. I want to be there. I want to watch this film. It's something I'm very curious by. Of course, Vanessa Kirby playing Josephine as well. Now, I'm going to be the first to say I don't know my French history. Literally, the only thing I knew heading into yesterday was that Napoleon was a short, angry-tempered man. I'm not joking, aside from obviously his military stuff. He wears a hat a lot. We didn't do any French history at school. So I was excited from a history perspective to at least hopefully learn something new. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I saw it in a film. It must have been true. I know that's never the case, and I know there has been stuff surrounding one of the battles and Ridley Scott in the media. Of course, this is a representation of real events, as I always say. Even if this was the best film ever made, I still probably wouldn't think it's accurate. But I was still excited nonetheless to see Joaquin Phoenix take on such a character of history, and again with Ridley Scott being involved with some of the films he's done across his career, it's an easy sell for me. So I've been excited. I hadn't seen many of the trailers. I'd seen a lot of TV spots. This film is produced by Apple, which is really worth bringing up. I spoke about them very glowingly on the Killers of the Flower Moon review. I'm doing the same thing here. Being sat at an IMAX, one of the biggest cinemas in the country, and the Apple logo is coming up, showing that they are once again committed to the theatrical experience. Yes, they have their own streaming service. Yes, they make stuff for it. But the fact that they are still allowing their films to have wide releases, to be released in cinemas, for people to have the opportunity to choose whether you want to watch it on the big screen, watch it on the biggest screen, or maybe you're going to wait till it eventually goes online. That's how it should be. I have massive respect for them for doing so, and I really do hope it's something they shall continue with moving forward. The fact they've done this back to back with Ridley Scott and Martin Scorsese is massive, and it's great for the industry. Audiences again have been choosing to go. Killers of the Flower Moon has made over $100 million worldwide. It has dropped minuscule amounts week to week. It's had legs and people are still going to see it. And I'm very curious about what that might do for Napoleon this week, because given it being a real life biopic type film, again, some of the names attached, the trailer's very action heavy. I'm curious to see what audiences do go. But once again, Apple's giving the audiences the choice to go, and that is the difference. So that's my prelude before watching the film. Yesterday night, watching the film, I mentioned it was insane. I could sum this review up in 2 lines, but I'm not going to. But I can tell you the essence of my thoughts before I start breaking it down and going into it a little bit more. The battle sequences, the action sequences are superb. They are exactly not what you want from Ridley Scott, what you know you are capable of getting from Ridley Scott. The scale, the production design, from the costumes, the authenticity of those, it felt like watching real battle sequences. It shouldn't feel like that, but we are obviously in a position with the industry where it doesn't happen often. Now, we know this was shooting a place like Milton Keynes on location, with hundreds and hundreds of extras as well, which is completely understandable, and it is great to see rather than just completely CGI armies with 5 people there. All of that I loved. All that I was really going to excited. Again, Napoleon being not just like a war general, but regarded as one of the greatest military figures in history. I'm glad it delivered on those fronts. Where the film suffers, horrifically suffers, is everything else outside of the battle sequences. And this is 2 hours 40 minutes, and I couldn't tell you what proportion, what percentage of that is. And this is where I'm going to struggle to be hard on it. The script is so absurd. The film was hilarious. And when I say the film is hilarious, I am not talking a sarcastic, hilarious look at me being what a smug bellend in the crowd. I'm talking everybody was laughing a lot. Deliveries, sequences, lines, phrases, whatever you want to call it. I do not know how some of this has ended up in this film. Now, as I said, I don't have the history, the French history, to be able to, I guess, judge fairly, but I can assure you that is not, I don't care about accuracy, but it is just ridiculous. And that's kind of what made it so entertaining and such a fun experience, was that it's almost like it's two completely different films covering the political angles, decades of his life in 2 hours 40 minutes is a big task to do. Now, I understand there's going to be a 4-hour cut. The question is, I'm not going to end this saying wait for the 4-hour cut, because how do we know that's going to be worse or better? Again, Ridley Scott is Ridley Scott. He's one of the greats, and you kind of know what you're going to get with him direction-wise. It is going to be his own way. It's going to be very unique, and kind of where I'm leaning with this, the more I've thought about it over the last day, rather than on the initial from last night, is I don't want to just slag off the script, but when I look at his directing capability, I can, again, once again, from the production to the locations to the cast to the sequences, are phenomenal. They are top notch. But once it then gets to the audio stage of characters talking, performance-wise with some parts, it's just almost a completely different film. And I remember doing a House of Gucci review and criticising it. I know that everyone probably said the same thing in the last couple of years. It doesn't know what film it is. It doesn't know if it's a serious drama starring Adam Driver. It doesn't know if it's ridiculous parody starring Jared Leto and Al Pacino. It doesn't understand if it's Lady Gaga, being at her absolute best, trying her hardest for a role of her lifetime. And that film really suffers from that. Yet with this one, it is literally, here's your great action sequences, here's your ridiculous everything else. And it kind of worked, but it's 2 hours 40 minutes long. And I'm not going to lie, I was really feeling it. And I know there's been a whole debate about run times recently. It's going to differ from person to person, but an almost 3.5 hour Scorsese film flies by. And this film, I didn't check my phone. Someone in front of me brought their phone out, and I could see what the time was, and there was still 45 minutes to go. So it's one of them where it's really tricky to talk about, because I also want to bring up the score. I think the score is great. Now, I was good at Hans Zimmer, couldn't do it. We don't know the reasons why, but this film, there was a lot of Gladiator talk. I put it in the intro. Again, Joaquin Phoenix is back with Ridley Scott for the first one since, and I actually felt that the music was lacking in this film. That's something that I was gutted by, because again, it had a lot of potential, especially with regards to the French Revolution and whatnot. So that side of things, I'm okay. I can deal with the soundtrack not being great or having memorable moments. I've praised the action sequences. I want to talk about some of the cast. I'm going to talk with the two leads, if I'm really honest. Joaquin Phoenix in this film, I really can't get a grip on. I don't think he's miscast. When he's doing the superhero action sequence moments, when he's being stubborn, when he's being petty, and that's very much how Napoleon is presented in this film, as what I kind of joked about earlier, not knowing much, that he had a temperament 5'1". I feel like that's the lines that's been given to Joaquin Phoenix, because some of his line deliveries are excellent. Some of the editing and the placement and certain scenes of these dialogue sequences are impeccably funny. And I think that's intentional sometimes. And I'm not quite sure about Joaquin Phoenix. And then we kind of have Vanessa Kirby, who is an amazing actress as well, playing Josephine. And I'm also not too sure what to make of her performance in it, playing very much an aristocrat type. I think she's fine. We've seen her do that with The Crown. We've seen her do that with Mission Impossible. She has done this amongst her career. We know she's capable of doing it. I can't sit here and say she has great chemistry with Joaquin Phoenix. They're almost two completely different characters melded together. But these are meant to be, his wife, the love of his life, whether that's one-sided or not. And I don't think the film delivers with their relationship angle. And as it gets into their later life, what would be dramatic emotional moments are just completely missed for me. And it's the same with the political side of it. I would love to know more about the politics, the coup sequences and whatnot. It feels, again, designed for by comedy, and some of it's very funny. And obviously, it's hundreds of years ago. Maybe all these historians are going to be commenting on this over the next few weeks, but at times I feel like this is this grandiose moment, and it feels like absolute nothing. So I'm really not surprised, but I'm in this weird state thinking about this film, because I can appreciate, and again, the direction itself is top notch, but the rest of it is not. And I guess that's kind of what you get with Ridley Scott films these days, right? I think people either love them or hate them. I'm just in the middle, because these action sequences are the highlight. Seeing that on the big screen, armies, hundreds of people on cavalry, whether they're on the ice lake, which of course is all over the marketing. I loved those action sequences. It felt like Gladiator again. When there is a build-up to an action sequence, it felt amazing. And those sequences pay off what has been building up. It is then just the gaps in between when it goes back to the drama that this film really struggles. And it's such a shame, because I think there's so much potential here. And I'm not going to talk about rewrites, this. I think this film could have been great, but it's not. And it's a shame it's not great. And I feel like the story deserved to be great in its own way. So I'm curious of this. And that's kind of heading into my final thoughts. Do I recommend this film to see at the cinema? I actually do. I think for its action sequences, you've got to see them on the big screen. Not just the action sequences, but to take in the film of this magnitude, an adult drama, I guess we can keep calling it. I don't know if people are over talking because Oppenheimer kills the flower moon. But it's nice to see these films at the cinema again, and once again, credit to Apple for supporting this film. I know that Sony distributing it as well. But to see, again, auteur directors being given not just the opportunity, but the fact is they're not just being shunned to a streaming service. They're actually making their films, and Ridley Scott's presence on the big screen is still more than welcome. The Last Duel, I absolutely loved. And I think that had a horrible distribution from Disney. I know COVID was involved, but I remember being so excited to go, and it was on once a day at 9 o'clock at night from the opening week. And then it was on Disney Plus within weeks. And then the 4K was very limited edition when I had to pick that up. So it's something where I think Apple has done Napoleon well. But again, it's the issues here aren't the studio. It is actually the film itself and how the final product has been. I don't want to talk Oscar season of this film too much. I can't see this being involved much at all. Maybe they'll push for Joaquin Phoenix and an acting nomination, which I somehow doubt will happen. But I can certainly see some technical side of it, like costumes, etc., being nominated, as period films often do. But again, I don't see it winning over the films that have already come out. So it's too early to talk about those, but I am recommending this for you all to see when it does come out this Wednesday. I think it ultimately was great to see on the big screen. Maybe a bit too much effort for me to have gone down to London and home to watch it, so that kind of gives that thoughts on the value of the longer journey for the big screen, the journey being 2 hours total. But at the same time, I'd happily be watching this at my local IMAX. Will I see it again? Probably not soon. Maybe it's something if my family wanted to go, I'd say, okay, let's go. But I'm also happy to wait for this to come onto streaming, which kind of counteracts what I've been saying about recommending the film. But it's up to you guys at home, and that's how I'm going to round out this review. So like I said, I think it's a missed opportunity with moments of greatness. That's my final thoughts, and that's how my review is going to kind of stay with this film. As I said, it's very funny, unintentionally at times, intentionally at others. So that's going to be this review for Napoleon. Thank you all so much for watching. As I said, I'm very curious to hear people's thoughts on this film, so please do get involved. Comment your thoughts if you're looking forward to it. If you're not, your thoughts on other Ridley Scott films. And also, if you like this video, you can support us by liking, subscribing. We're getting a lot more reviews coming out. We've got the Hunger Games this weekend. We've had the David Fincher retrospective, which is now finished. We've got a massive Disney ranking video. There's so much stuff happening on the channel. The best way to find out about videos is getting us on social media. Linktree.com/cinemasavvy. Links on there to our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And aside from that, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.